Okay, we are knocking on, let's see here. Question 10. Where and how often do you perform typically?
Well, my ratio to touring dates and out of town dates and state Florida dates are like 50-50, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it leans a little more towards the local side. But I'm in a unique position where Florida is a great place to make a living as a musician, especially where I live. I think Florida is the reason that is, I think, is because it's such a big tourist destination. It's almost like the road comes to you,
right,
at times, and people from out of town come and they go to a bar and they see it and they play, and it works out great. Because if I can't, if the demand's not there for me to be out on the road, I'm just as good. I'll be fine at home, So it works out. It's kind of like a 50-50 thing. I might need to change that. I might need to be out on the road a little longer next year. It's just better to keep your profile up and to be out more. But it's Fort Lauderdale. When I'm at home, it's when I'm in Florida, it's like the Fort Lauderdale, the Broward and Palm Beach area is kind of where my bread and butter is at home. But then, I come out to the West Coast, Tampa, St. Pete, Sarasota, Fort Myers, Naples. That area keeps me busy too. It's great. It's great to live in Florida, man. I mean, Florida gets a bad rap for a lot of shit. They give it a shit. They think it's full of weirdos, but what they don't realize is all these weirdos come from somewhere else. So you can hate on Florida all you want, but you're part of the problem. Weirdos who come in here and live here. That's true.
It is true. That's why it's funny. It's true.
Oh, Florida's full of weirdos. Man, please. It's a great place to live. I like it. It's a great place to live. It can be a pain in the ass to be a touring musician from, because we're so far south and so far away from the rest. We're kind of isolated somewhat. Where I live, at least, it's a little easier in this area to get out. But for me, you live in Fort Lauderdale, it takes 5.5 hours to get out of the state. And even when you get out of state, you're still in the middle of nowhere. And you have to drive another 4 hours just to get to Atlanta. So it's like, it's not easy. But
North Dakota is isolated.
Well, that's true.
But you don't have to shovel snow to get out.
How many touring bands are out of North Dakota, though? And we got a bunch out of here. There's me, and there's Selwyn Birchwood, and there's Damon Fowler and J.P. Soares. Mm-hmm. And we're all doing it, but we love living here. It's just it's a great place to be out of. And it's a great, as far as the blues scene goes, the state's got a great scene. I think it's as good as any scene out there.
Absolutely. Any non-musical ventures you'd like to discuss? Or is your life pretty much consumed with music?
Yeah, I don't have a plan B. This is it, man.
Okay.
I don't know what I'm going to do if something happens. God forbid I lose an arm, or I'm going to have to take lessons from that dude who plays. We got no arms, who plays with his feet.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to hold off on anything outside of me. I'm trying to keep away out of that.
Fair enough.
Yeah, trying to stay away from that.
Discuss your practice regimen, if you have one. Is it just playing, or do you really seriously concentrated practice?
I have been practicing more now. In the last year, I've been practicing more and more. I go on there's various websites that have like online lessons, pre-recorded online lessons, and I'll set aside a couple hours a day. I've been doing that for the last year. I'll do what I got to do when I'm home. I got things I got to do as a husband and as a pet owner. I got family, in Miami that I have to, see and visit, and I got responsibilities. I have to pick up dog shit. I have to go to the bank after gigs. You know, after weekends, I got to go to the bank. I got to do things around the house that need to be done. But, and see, that's why in the past, that consumed my time, which wasn't a big deal. But when I had to spend my time focusing on things that I shouldn't have had to focus on, the opportunity to practice was very hard. But now I've been freed up to practice. The last year I've been freed up to do a lot of practicing. And I've been setting aside 2 hours a day. Mm-hmm. After I got done doing what I needed to do for my wife, or for my family, or for my friends, or for my dog. I love my dogs, you know. I just lost my oldest, and I got the younger one is still with me, and she's my life. I love her. Mm-hmm. But you know, I set aside a couple hours, usually at around 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock, yeah. I have a real weird routine, man. It's very different from the normal people. Most people get up at 8 in the morning. I don't get up till 11:30, and I watch my news, and I have breakfast at 12:30 in the afternoon, mm-hmm. and I eat lunch at 4:30, and between breakfast and lunch, I'm getting a bunch of shit done, and if I had time, and then by 5 o'clock. I'm ready to practice. I just got this drive now. I don't know where it's come from. I guess it's come from having a little bit more time to do these things, but I just find myself practicing a couple hours a day, mm-hmm. and trying to learn different stuff. You know, I'm not trying to limit myself to stuff I already know. Although I do, I do brush up on my Chicago blues and stuff. I'm trying to get into jump blues stuff now. I really like that West Coast stuff, mm-hmm. and what I thought was something I couldn't do, I'm able to pull off some things from that bag. Getting into the funk thing a little bit. I like funk a lot, mm-hmm. and R&B. So I've been messing around with a little bit of that, a little bit of jazz and stuff. It's been great to practice the last year. It's been really, I feel like a kid again. The whole practicing thing.
It's good for you. I do it.
It is. It's great for you. Sometimes you go through periods in your life where you think you don't have time for it, either because you're on the road all the time, and you think, well, I'm practicing because I'm on the road and I'm playing, so that's kind of like practice, but it's not.
I mean, that's performing.
That's performing.
Mm-hmm. And that's a little different.
But when you have time to practice, it really is a lot of fun. I really enjoy it these days.
Albert, at what point did you think you could make a living at music? When did the light bulb go off? And you said, I can actually pay my bills with this stuff.
When I got the job with Junior Wells?
Yeah. That seems to be the point in your life where everything...
Yeah, that's when I was working... I had the day job, and I was working nights and playing nights. And if that was how my life was going to be forever, I would have accepted that because I was never going to stop playing. Mm-hmm. There were most of the time I felt that it was within my reach, but sometimes I did. A lot of times I didn't feel like it was within my reach. I said I'm always going to be having a day gig and playing nights. But man, when I got the job with Junior, I was like, man, I think I can do this for a living. And my parents felt that way too. They turned around quickly after that. Mm-hmm. They were very skeptical about it. I mean, imagine their dismay. I went to college. I went to the University of Central Florida and graduated with a liberal arts degree. I pissed it away on a career in music. So you could understand their skepticism. But when I got the job to tour, when I finally got the touring gig, I believed that I could do it for a living. That's when I knew for sure that I could do this for a living. And then my parents started to believe in me too. Okay, maybe this isn't a phase with him. Maybe this is really serious. So yeah, it was that moment. I hope it doesn't come off redundant in the interview, but I mean that was the moment that changed my life. Really, it was.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I don't think it's uncommon for that to be the case. I don't know. Some of these questions I kind of approach the same topic from different angles, but different players have different experiences. And
do they keep coming back to that same moment?
You're really the first person who has returned to that same moment this number of times, and I think that's very special. I think that's very rare that it's been that really one pivotal moment. Most of the other interviews I've done so far, there have been kind of multiple steps, but yours has just been this point in time that you come back to. That's awesome, I think.
I truly believe that the smallest random act of kindness can just change someone's life forever.
Oh, I know that for a fact.
Yeah, and that Junior hired me. The lady who introduced me, Gloria, she didn't have to, but she did. And he didn't have to hire me, but he did. And when he did, my whole life changed. Those people changed my life. And maybe because it meant so much to me that I keep going back to it. I don't know, but it really was the moment that changed my life. My life would have been very different had that not happened. People tell me, well, you still could have made it, you know. There's no guarantees, man. You just don't know. And I know for a fact that because of that moment in 1996 that I jammed with him, that all this happened. So I'm always grateful for that moment.
That's awesome. Tell us about your favorite guitar. If you have one.
If I had a favorite guitar, I would just have one. And guitar players don't have one guitar. I like my Les Paul. I mean, when I was a kid, when I first started out, it was Strats.
Mm-hmm.
It was Strats because Clapton was a Strat player. In the 80s, he was playing that Strat with the mid-range boost. With the DBX mid-range boost on it. I love that thing. And so I had that was like my favorite. And then I got into, and then a friend of mine got me into Les Pauls. I could never afford a Les Paul up until a few years ago. About 10 years ago, maybe, a little less than that. A friend of mine who's a great, Jan Goodman, who's a technical wizard. Great at fixing amps and stuff. And great with guitars and stuff. He builds alternative fuel plants like those, like the Willie Nelson, what is it, the...
Hemp oil.
Not hemp oil.
Well, when you say Willie Nelson.
The vegetable oil that you run cars on. The biofuel. He builds biofuel factory, biofuel plants. Guy's a genius. But he's a guitar aficionado. He gave me this, well, he didn't give it to me. I bought this, he showed me this Les Paul Studio Standard that once belonged to the Bee Gees. The Studio Standard was a model they made in the 80s. Between 84 and 89, it had the binding on the neck, but it was a dot neck. Didn't have the inlays.
Right. So
it was a economical version of the Standard, but it was just as good as the Standard. Like the studios, a lot of the Gibson studio models with no binding, I don't feel good to me. But this thing had binding and it had a dot neck, and I think Gibson did away with them because I think at some point they were outselling the Standards, and so they did away with them. But this belonged to the Bee Gees. It sat in their studio in Miami Beach. It had a Bigsby or something, and he had changed it, fixed it, or he got rid of it and he fixed it. It was in real bad shape, and it played like a dream. And I bought it from him. I made payments on it. He sold it to me for like $2,000, and I said, "Well, can I give you like $100 a month?" And he's like, "Yeah." So it took I paid 2 years, paid that thing for it. But I got into Les Pauls, and I love the way Les Pauls sound. I just got that rich sound that the Strats couldn't give me.
I think that's one of the things that I really appreciate about your records and your performances is that in a landscape of modern blues that seems to be infested with Strat players, I mean, if you come from that Chicago blues tradition, that's Gibson. You know, that's humbucking pickups. And so that lends more power and authenticity to the vibe that you have.
Sure.
And that's one of the things I appreciate about what you do is that it's different. There's a different texture to what you do than a lot of what else is out there.
Yeah, I didn't set out to be different. It's just, you know, yeah, people like to, like, yeah, people gravitate to, for some reason, and there are people that think, well, if you're going to be in a three-piece, you need a Strat. It's got to be a Strat if it's a three-piece.
Well, it worked already in Cream.
Yeah, I know. Well, you can go to that, right. But, yeah, he used the SG, and Clapton used the SG, and they had the 335, didn't he?
Yeah, that was all Gibson in Cream.
But there are a lot of Les Paul players in three pieces, although Leslie West did. He used a Les Paul Jr.
Yes, he did.
But there were not as many, and I didn't set out to do that. I just like the way they sound, and I think it's just as. I think a Les Paul is just as fitting in a three-piece as a Strat is.
I think Jimmy Page did pretty well as a three-piece with a Les Paul.
That's true.
I mean, it's basically what it was.
It was. If you,
one guy playing the microphone.
Robert was singing. Yeah, I like the Les Pauls a lot, and then but then I got turned on to Delaney guitars out of Austin, and I have a couple of those.
Shout out to Michael Delaney.
Mike, I love you, man.
He's a mad genius.
Yeah, he's building me a LaGrange right now, which is he's very in touch with what I like. He built me these two really nice Jagadas, which is kind of like I wanted something like, yeah, you know, I'd like a Strat with a Les Paul kind of sound. So he built me this Jagada, which is like a Strat neck type of neck with two humbuckers, and I like him a lot. But he knows that I like my Les Pauls, and he saw me in Colorado last year. I did the Blues from the Top Festival in Winter Park, and he was there, and he goes, "You love your Les Pauls, don't you?" And I go, "Yeah, I do. I can't help it." And he goes, "Well, I'm gonna build you something." And so he's got this model called the LaGrange.
Nice.
And and it's a Les Paul kind of style, but it's gonna have that raw, you know, the raw finish on it. I'm really looking forward to playing that. I know he built one for Danielle Schneblin of Trampled Underfoot. She's a lefty. He built a lefty model of that, and she raved about it to me. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I've not met Michael, but I'm a real admirer of his work, and I've had my hands on a few of Zito's guitars.
Right.
And it's just, you know, it's very similar to some of the things that I build for customers, but I don't have the wood shop capabilities in my current location, so I have to shop some of it out. And Michael's work is world class, impeccable.
Well, you two should meet.
I would love to meet him.
You know, that would be like you know, that would be like
I would love to meet
the
Michael.
President and the Pope meeting. You guys, I mean, just two major forces meeting together. I mean, you guys are the best, man.
He does.
I think you guys should meet.
He does absolutely fantastic work.
You guys have both done wonders for my tone, both of you.
Well,
but Delaney with his guitars and your pedals are just fucking genius. Pardon my French.
That's okay.
Sorry, people. I cuss a little bit.
Well, people who know me, you can say fuck all you want. I just do it. Curse if you want to. I think it's a present from God the way everything else is, you know. If we weren't meant to cuss, we wouldn't enjoy it so much. Talk a little bit about the rest of your current rigs, strings, picks, tuning, amps, that kind of stuff. What are you using these days and enjoying?
Well, I've been using, as far as strings goes, I have an endorsement with Dean Markley, and they make very good strings, but I've been using the hybrid gauge strings with the 9 to 46s.
Nice.
I used to play nines. When in the beginning I played regular nines, and then I went to 10s, and then I went back to nines. I keep going back from nines to 10s and nines to 10s. And one time I was on a flight with Susan with Susan Tedeschi, and when her first album came out.
Oh, we saw her open for John Mellencamp that year. She was so good.
She's awesome.
She's
best. Great. Yeah, she's terrific.
Yeah.
She's terrific. And but I met her on a flight. I was on a flight from Fort Lauderdale to Nashville, and she was on the flight. She had a guitar, and I struck up a conversation. I go, "You look really familiar." And well, I play around a little bit, and she gave me her name. I said, "Are you kidding me?" Wow. So we chatted a little bit, and we were talking about gauge strings. We were talking. I think she asked me the question. I asked her the question, and I go, "What do you use?" I said, "Yeah, I'm using 9s right now," and she's like, "Well, I'm using like 13s or something." I felt, or 12s or something. It was something really heavy, and I felt like a real wuss. So I went back to 10s. And now I'm getting old. I'm getting older, so even the 10s started feeling a little heavy. And then a friend of mine in one of my music stores that I go to turned me on to the hybrids. So I use the Dean Markleys, and when I'm between orders with them, and I'm in a bind, I'll get the Ernie Ball hybrid slinkies.
Mm-hmm.
But mainly I use the Dean Markley Blue Steels, or the Dean Markley regular nickel 9s and 46s. And then my pedal boards change, but I've always got, Granvilles are always constants. So like I got a big board that I use on my pedal pad. I got my pedal pad pedal board that I use that holds 5. So what I got my G-Lab wah pedal, Wowie Wah, which is like the best wah wah on the planet. It's an amazing wah wah pedal. It's got this feature where, a sensory feature where when you apply your foot onto the wah, it activates the wah, where you don't have to click on it to activate it.
Mm-hmm.
So and on top of it, and then it's got these shaping switches. If you want to change the variance of the wah, if you want to change the tone of the wah sound, you want to get a little bassier, you can. Great feature. Another feature it has is got this thing where you, when you plug in to the wah pedal, it sucks the battery life, right? Well, it's got this switch where you can cut off the bypass. Is that what it means? Well, it cuts off the battery. So you can leave the jack plugged in and it won't suck the battery in.
Oh, so it's like a battery switch.
A battery switch.
Right.
So it's a genius pedal. It's a great wah pedal. Love it. Got that in there. Never going to leave it. And then I got I use a JHS Kilt for my fuzz.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great fuzz sound. I never really cared for fuzz pedals much. They were hard to control for me. And it seems like every time I step on one, I lose signal, but that one's got a real good, I don't lose signal with that one. So I like that. And I got right next to that is my Granville Big Dog Overdrive prototype, which I'm eagerly awaiting its official release because it's great. It sounds beautiful. It's an overdrive with a boost and a hump switch, which is the mid-range switch on it, and I love that pedal. I love it. So I got that, and then I got my Pink Bunkadoo, my Granville Pink Bunkadoo, which I use, which is like a vibe pedal from hell. Let me tell you how much I love this pedal. Let me tell you how much I love this pedal, folks. I wasn't planning on pimping this dude's stuff, but I'm being honest here. I went to England with Zito. And I didn't take much. I took a pedal or two. But we're in the middle of the tour in England, and Zito goes, "You're going to meet Roger Mayer." We're going to meet Roger Mayer. I know Roger Mayer is a friend of mine. We're going to meet Roger Mayer.
Whoa.
So we met Roger Mayer, and I wound up buying his vibe pedal. He sold me a vibe pedal. And I love that vibe pedal.
Oh, yeah.
And I love the fact that it came from Roger Mayer. But that's my spare pedal. Because I love the sound. Not only do I love the sound of the Bunkadoo, but it's a little smaller, and so it saves a lot of space on the board. So the Bunkadoo is my #1 vibe pedal. And my Roger Mayer, I'm never getting rid of because it came from Roger Mayer.
Yeah, buddy.
The inventor of effects in the 60s, Jimi Hendrix's boy. That's always going to be my spare. But it's my spare to the pink Bunkadoo. Because that pink Bunkadoo is badass.
I appreciate
and
that.
It's simple. And it's pretty easy to dial in a great sound on it. You can get like real nice swirlies. Yeah, I like setting it up just past half. Both knobs just past half. Just past 50%. Oof. Magnifique, baby.
I appreciate that. I'd tell you the secret, but
I don't want
it wouldn't be a secret.
the secret. See, I just play the fucking thing. I don't know anything about. You know, when you talk about how you make these pedals, it's pretty much I'm like a dog, and it's like wah 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 wah. What you're saying, I just know that they sound good, so I love it. It's really compact. It's a small blueprint, but man, it sounds. And I used it on my record. I used it on my Big Dog record on "Let's Make Love in the Morning," on this one here. Yes, that you can buy on Amazon and iTunes.
And that's my autographed copy of that. Thank you for that.
But that was, I used the pink Bunkadoo. That's how I got turned on to Scooter's stuff. Was that Zito brings everything he owns to the studio, every pedal, everything. And we did this song, this ballad called "Let's Make Love in the Morning." And I said, we really need something real swirly in there. So he put the Bunkadoo. I said, man, it's a great pedal. And then he said, well, you should check this out. And then he showed me the Copper Drive. Great pedal. And then the Neutron. And I was using those up until the Big Dog Overdrive got made. And that was the ideal overdrive. So I got that. I got the Bunkadoo. And then I got this Strymon Flint pedal, which is a combination tremolo reverb.
That's a good one.
It's a real good one. I got that one. I bought that because I saw Gary Clark was using one, and he gave it was one of those Premier Guitar Rig rundown things, and I think he said he used it because he uses Vibro King amps, but sometimes the amps bounce around and the spring reverb would flare up, make noises. So what he'd do, I think as I recall, I could be wrong, but he said that he would shut the settings down on the tremolo and the spring reverb on his amp and use the Strymon.
Right.
So they wouldn't have those problems.
Yep.
But he also uses them for rigs that don't have reverb and stuff.
Yeah, if you got a fly in and you got...
He uses it as a fly rig.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that's what I use for my big pedal board. Now sometimes I got to play in a real small place, and it's not practical to have that big board. So been using the JHS along with my Copper Drive, my Granville Copper Drive, and the Roger Mayer, vibe pedal. So I use that on occasion when I've got to play in real tiny spaces. That's pretty much what I've been doing. And the wah connected to it.
What about amps? When you're providing your own amps, what do you use?
Well, I use I have an Olinger amp. I have a couple of Olinger amps. Which Phil Olinger is an amp maker. He's actually a factory worker by trade in southeastern Ohio, in Pomeroy, Ohio, Meigs County, across the river from Mason, West Virginia. But he inherited a bunch of tubes years ago, and he was always a guitar player, and he was always technically, he was good at building things, and started building amps. And he built one for the late Bill Perry, who was a blues player out of New York, who passed away a few years back. And I got into him, and I own 3 of his amps, and great heads. I got one head. I got a 40-watt head with no reverb, and then I got a 50-watt head with no reverb. No, I got the 40-watt. I got a 40-watt Olinger head with a split switch that cuts the wattage from 40 to 20, and it has reverb. And then I bought another one from a couple years ago that's 50 or 60 watts, but has no reverb, which the Strymon comes into play for that. And then I have a Sterling. I also play a Sterling amplifier. It's Sterling amps out of Massachusetts. Richard Simmons is the name of the guy. Not the exercise guy.
Different Richard Simmons.
No, different one. But Rich makes these. He makes these tweed amps, and I have a Bandmaster. It's modeled after the Bandmaster. It's got 310s in it. Mm. No reverb. Sounds really, really good. Love it. Love it. So I've been using those. I've been using those amps. Those have been my amps.
Cool. Let's see here. What one piece of gear is essential to your playing? You won't play without it.
That's a good question.
There have been some really good answers too.
I would have to say I think the overdrive pedal is the most important, because you don't know what kind of rig, if you're going out on if you're doing a fly gig to Europe, you don't know what you're gonna get. I think I believe it's the big drop, my Big Dog overdrive, and my JHS.
That's
are
good.
The two.
That's a good pedal. That kilt is a
man. That kilt
pedal.
is an amazing pedal.
Yep. It's
an amazing pedal because it gives you a lot more crunch than you need.
Mm-hmm.
And they both offer me two different textures of overdrive and distortion. And Big Dog gives you a lot,
mm-hmm.
but it's even more saturated with the JHS. But those are the two that I take with me to Europe. I hope you don't mind that I take it to Europe with me.
Take it to
It
Europe.
is a prototype, you know, and I know you get...
Take it to Europe. I'll make you another one. If you break it or lose it, I'll make you another one.
Well, you need to mass produce that damn thing. That's what
I
you
do.
Need to do.
It's quite complicated and has a fairly high parts count, so I'm not excited about making a lot of them, but I'm going to.
You need to make a limited amount of them, though.
I'm probably going to make a dozen when we get ready to go into
Wait till you
production.
see this damn thing.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
The thing I love about that pedal is that there's a bunch of different ways to get good sounds out of it. You can approach it from several directions. It's not just like in, out, and some gain structure. You can set up different gain structures to get different...
Oh, yeah. Well, yesterday I played in St. Pete.
At the Ale and the Witch.
At the Ale and the Witch, which is a great sounding... That courtyard sounds really, really good. I love the sound of that courtyard. But I had my Olinger amp, and when I had I used my 60-watt head with the cabinet with the two Blue Dog Weber Blue Dog speakers, and some of the time when I went to the more traditional stuff, like the more Chicago bluesy stuff, I didn't even use the overdrive part of the Big Dog. I just used the boost.
Yep.
And it gave me enough, you know. And then sometimes I would you'd mix it up. That's what the great thing about that. The Big Dog is you can get about 6 different ways of using it. You can use sometimes you just use the overdrive by itself without the boost. Of course, in the soloing part, I like to use the boost. So I'll use the overdrive and the boost, or just the overdrive, or just the boost. And when I use the hump, the mid-range, I'll usually combine that with the boost. I think it sounds, that's where I think it sounds the best. When you mix it with the boost and when you combine that, the hump with the boost, it's another great sound.
Well, see, it doesn't, because you're working with tube amps, which sound different every night, that's part of the fun. The Big Dog doesn't assume that your requirements are going to be the same every night.
Right.
You know, the thought process is you're going to need something a little different every night.
Right.
Just a little different. And that was the whole concept from the beginning with that pedal, is one pedal with a bunch of knobs and a bunch of switches that will let you run with the flow rather than trying to enforce its will on you.
Right. It's great. It's an awesome pedal. Like I said, the man's a genius.
Oh, I'm not a genius.
Yes, he is.
I try to build quality. That's what When I build, I try to build stuff that isn't going to break and is a quality, usable tool. If that makes me a genius, then I...
Scotty's middle name is Quality. It's Scott Q. Davis. That's the man. That's why he's quality, man. I mean, his stuff, I mean, if it's not, and I didn't, I got turned on to that one after I got turned on to his Copper Drive and the Mr. Neutron. Man, it's just much respect, man. Kudos to you.
I appreciate
I didn't mean to embarrass you or anything.
No.
You told me, we don't have to, you told me ahead of time, we don't need to talk about, I'm talking about this because it's the truth, and he's here. And best pedals on the planet, as far as I'm concerned.
This is your time to say whatever the fuck you want to say.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's right.
Describe your proudest moment as a musician.
It's tough to say. There's so many. I talked about them in the, getting the job with Junior, getting to play with, oh man, there was just so many. I got to play with, I got to back up Hubert Sumlin, work with Hubert Sumlin on the eve of his birthday.
Wow.
In Fellsmere, the night before his birthday. Yeah, that was one of them. There are just so many moments. There might have been a proud moment as recently as a couple of weeks ago, maybe.
Yeah.
You come across a lot of great proud moments. I remember, boy, let me tell you, Zach Harmon, great blues player out of Texas. I was in the IBC, the International Blues Competition in Memphis, and we lost to him in the semifinals. Great guy, great band. Opened up some shows for him in Florida. I had a four-piece for years, and in 2009, I had a couple of guys in the band that were acting like assholes, and I had to get rid of them. And I streamlined the band down to a three-piece, and that was a change. Well, that just brought up another crossroads moment in my life. That was definitely a pivotal moment in my career, because when I had the four-piece, I kind of didn't have to work as hard playing the guitar. My sound was kind of middle of the road. I had some of the guys in the band were a little dragging ass, and it was kind of like, it was all, and some of the purists really liked the middle of the road Albert, But I got to the point where I wasn't really happy with the band, and I made some changes. And I streamlined, unintentionally, I streamlined the band. I had a four-piece with a keyboard player. Didn't work out with the keyboard player. I said, well, I went to the guy, because I had fired my bass player, replaced him with a guy who had a lot of power in his tone, had fat tone. No disrespect to the guy who I had to let go, but the guy that I hired after that in 2009, AJ Kelly, is a great bass player. It's fat tone, man. I let my keyboard player go. I said, let's try the three-piece for a few weeks, and then we'll find somebody. And then the first gig I did with the three-piece, it was like, man, I don't need to go back to a four-piece.
Yeah.
I don't need to go back to a four-piece. I like this power trio. This might work out. Let's keep doing this. Mm-hmm. Because I had one less instrument, but I had a guy whose tone was fat enough for two players. It seemed like maybe I had hired the keyboard player just to fill up the sound. But when I got this bass player who was just too powerful for the keyboard player, I said, man, let's just keep this as a three-piece. Mm-hmm. And I kind of went from being middle of the road Albert to think, oh, he's a little edgy. He's getting a little edgier now. He's not, he's kind of like pushing the limits a little bit, which rubs some people the wrong way in the beginning. But, I won most of them over. And I've embraced the three-piece. Where the hell were we going with the question? What would you ask me?
Your proudest moment.
Okay, so Zach Harmon. Sorry about that.
That's okay. That's all right. I like it when you rim.
So, so at the Winter Park, the Blues from the Top Festival, was it a couple of years ago or last year maybe? And I was talking to Zach. It was 2 years ago, and Zach said, "Man, I love." I go. We were talking about the back in the day when we did the IBCs, and he said, "Man, I love you more with your 3-piece than you did with the 4-piece."
Mm-hmm.
That was a proud moment for me, because that truly did change my sound. And that was an affirmation that a man of his musicianship and his stature telling me that I did the right thing by getting a 3-piece. That was a proud moment. That's the one that comes to mind. But there's so many. When you do this for a living and you're able to tour the world, there's so many great moments.
I think it's sad that people would make a judgment on you based on how many people are in your band. Is the music good or is the music not good? That should be the judgment.
Well, I felt like it was going in the wrong direction when I made the change. I wasn't happy with the way it was going by the time I had made. It was more like personality conflicts was the cause of it. I felt like there were players in the band that weren't giving their 100%, and I felt like I was stagnating, and so I made some personnel decisions, and inadvertently had a 3-piece. It caused me to inadvertently have a 3-piece, and it was the best thing that ever happened, because the band was more in your face. I loved that, and it was refreshing, and I found myself doing longer sets because of it.
Yeah.
I found myself doing 2-hour sets instead of maybe 75 or three 60-minute sets. Aces the other night, a week ago, we did a 3-hour set.
Nice.
So the 3-piece really. So when people tell me that, and then now the guys that I got some real top-notch players. Not that the other guys weren't. I love the guy. I miss the guys that I had in the band in the last couple of years. But these guys I have now are great. And when people, my peers, tell me that they love the guys that I have now, and they like the direction I'm going in, guys like Zito, so he loves the 3-piece. Samantha Fish, when I got the new band, she told me, "Man, I really love the new band." That's really, those are the most recent proud moments for me, is when my peers and my friends finally got honest with me and said, "Man, they really love this band."
That's awesome, man. Thanks for that.
Thank you.
Great stuff. If given the chance, what non-musical profession would you be interested in? Say, you did anything you wanted to do.
The only thing I ever wanted to be other than a musician was I wanted to play first base for the New York Yankees.
Yeah, that's all right.
But I couldn't.
They could use you right now.
I couldn't field. I couldn't hit. I couldn't hit for power. I couldn't hit for contact. I couldn't throw.
That's a problem.
Other than that, I think I had a chance. That's all. I mean, I didn't think about. All I ever thought about since I was 15 was being a musician. That's all I ever wanted to be. I'm not the most talented of the lot. I think I'm as good as any and better than most. But I got a love for the music, that a passion for it. I know that I loved it more than anybody. I loved music and I loved playing more than anybody, and that drove me to not even think about what a plan B was, or what other job I would do if I wasn't playing music. I never thought about that. Even when I was a social worker, it's all I ever. It was kind of like an obsession. It was all about the music for me. So that's kind of a hard question. The last time I thought about doing something else was when I was 14 years old and I wanted to play first base for the New York Yankees. My parents had other ideas. My dad wanted me to be a banker. I came from a family of bankers. My dad was a banker. My mom was in banking. My grandparents. my grandfather was in banking. My dad's dad was a plumber, but I had no desire to be a plumber. I think I would have been much happier being a plumber than being a banker. The handling other people's money never really appealed to me. I was a teller out of college. Out of high school, I was a teller at a bank,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't like it at all. So all I ever wanted to do was play music. I never really thought about what I would do if I couldn't play music.
Well, I think you offer something musically that no one else has, and no one else is Albert Castiglia. You know what I'm saying? You offer that.
It's not always a good thing.
No, believe me, trust me, and I'm not the only one who thinks that.
Well, I just I don't, I'm just a plain spoken man who writes plain spoken music. I don't have complicated riffs. I try to write riff oriented stuff that grabs you. I'm not the most, what's the word, virtuosic? Is that a word? I don't know. I'm a plain spoken guy who writes plain spoken lyrics and tries to, just write. I write simple songs. I'm not a very complex guy, but I hope it reaches people.
It speaks to me.
I hope so.
Albert, we're down to question number 20 on this 20 questions. What artist who is legendary and beloved and important do you just not get? Now, to clarify this slightly, this is not somebody that you hate. It's somebody that everybody loves that you just sit there and go, it doesn't reach you for whatever reason.
I thought about that question a lot when you sent me them in advance, and I just can't bring myself to saying anything, saying that about anybody.
You don't have to answer.
Well, and it's not because it's a bad question, right? The music business is really hard, and it's really hard to make it out there.
Mm-hmm.
And if you found a way to get over and get the people into your shit, hey, who am I to judge? Now there are guys. And I might not. It might not be what I'm into, but I'm hardly the person to say, just because I don't get it doesn't mean other people shouldn't, Now, there are guys in the business that I think are assholes, that are very talented, but they're just like, now and when I meet them or have an encounter with them, it ruins the music for me. It's hard for me, and it shouldn't be that way. I should be objective. But there are some guys in this scene, I'll tell you off camera, maybe, I'm not going to diss them on the camera, that they rub me so wrong as people that it ruins the listening experience for me. It's happened to me a couple of times.
I think it's okay to feel that way. I do.
I can't help it. I can't name the names. There's very popular guys out there that people love and think that they do no wrong, and they're great musicians. But man, I've had bad encounters with them. They're not always good. They're not always people that play well with others, and that kind of ruins it for me sometimes. And that's only happened a handful of times.
I think that's a perfectly valid answer.
Is it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just because you're asked a question doesn't mean that you have to answer it. I think that's genius.
I think
honestly.
I'm entitled. I think you're entitled to have an answer to every question you asked.
No, I think you have answered.
I just couldn't answer it. I think that I can't. Let me give you an example. Like the music, there's stuff that's coming out today that I just, because of my age, that I don't understand.
Let's take the flip side of the coin here before you go that way. why don't you take this opportunity to mention somebody who you really dig that maybe is not very well known, that people should know about? The people watching this video, maybe they're interested in you. Somebody maybe they haven't heard of that you dig. Somebody you want to expose to the world.
Wow. Wow, that's a good question.
Because I have blog readers and viewers all over the world. Maybe there's somebody that, you know, you feel is kind of too secret. Maybe you expose them a little.
Wow. That's a good question. I mean, a lot of guys, I mean, you know, I can't really say Samantha Fish because she's blowing up, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, but I remember when she was 19.
Mm-hmm.
I met her when she was 19, and or 20, and she had her first record out, and she was one of those. But right now, you know, there's lots of kids in my corner of the world that are doing really good things.
Maybe you played a gig somewhere and somebody opened for you that was local and you went, holy balls, somebody needs to know about this person.
Wow. That's a good question.
Because I know a lot of times around here I'll go to see a national act, whoever it might be, and somebody local that I've never heard of before will open and just floor me. You know, I've seen several really, I've been exposed to a lot of good music that way.
I'm trying to think. You know, you get so caught up.
Oh yeah.
In your own thing, you forget. You know, I'll name some guys in my area. I'll name some guys in my area that are doing really good things. There's a couple. There's a kid named J.L. Folks out of Boca.
Mm-hmm.
He's a really good player. Shaw Davis is a young kid out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Those are the guys in my immediate area. There's who else? I'm trying to think, man. Why am I drawing a blank?
Well, Damon.
There's a guy. There's a guy.
Yeah.
Well, Damon's pretty well known now. He's doing really good things. I mean, he's been around for a long time, and with Southern Hospitality, they're just they're very popular these days.
Right.
Oh, there's a guy out of Virginia Beach, Virginia, the Hampton Roads area, named Anthony Rosano. Mike Zito produced his latest record.
Uh-huh.
He's a great player. Oh man, yeah, he's really, really good. Who else, man? Why am I drawing a blank on these? There's so many.
I just kind of sprung this on you. I'm sorry, but it just seems like, you know, maybe that question was a bit more negative.
No, I didn't take it as negative. I just, you know what? No, I didn't take it as negative.
Yeah.
I owed you an answer, but I just had to kind of go around.
You don't owe me shit.
You
you showed up, man. You're paid.
Well, believe me, there's lots of music that I don't get, but
and that's okay.
But whoever's got their just proper. It's very hard to make a living in music, so I got to give them. Everybody's got to get their props for making it. Mm-hmm. Whatever angle you worked to get to where you got, and can't.
I think that's the best answer I've heard to that question. Honestly, I like it.
Even the assholes. Even the assholes who think that they're better than everybody else, which I'll give you those names after when the camera's off.
Well, that's all we got time for today. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. If you have any questions or concerns or want to know more about what we do here at Granville Guitars, seek us out on the web at www.granvilleguitars.com. You can also find us on Facebook or check out my new blog on WordPress, A View from the Granville Bench. Albert Castiglia, certified badass.
Thanks, Scooter.
Thanks for coming by. Badass. And don't forget, folks, Albert's new album, Big Dog, is out on Rough Records. Go find it. You will be pleased. Thanks, Albert.
Thanks, Scooter.